Live. I love saying that. Every Wednesday, Derek Clow, usually every Wednesday, we're live. And I get a little nervous and I forget to say my name. So I am Dr. Tovah Goldfine. This is TMS Roundtable Recovery, Healing Chronic Pain and Autoimmune Symptoms. And we have been around for close to 5 years weekly. I think this show may be 240 something. Anyway, you guys all know how passionate I am and that I could do this every night, but I only come in once a week. I'm so excited, especially tonight, because this is a topic that I don't know a lot about. So I'm humbled to learn as you're learning, as you're listening, I'm listening. So I met Ari Gaitelband.
Yeah.
We happen to live in the same community and in the same apartment. In the north here in Israel, and we met, and he immediately started talking to me about this ice bath, and I got what he was doing. And then he shared about his experience with Wim Hof. I did not know he was in a mountain. That's the picture. He was in a mountain. That's a whole nother story. But he's a specialist in the Wim Hof method and an instructor. And a lot of his work is helping high performance athletes who obviously all have stress and all get triggered and all need to calm themselves down. So because my purpose and my mission is about healing chronic pain and disease, where we are in a state of fight or flight, where we do need to calm and have our body heal to another level, that we can use breathing, aside from the fact of mindfulness and what breathing is for our immune system and what breathing does for our vagus nerve. This is a whole nother, but in the chronic pain world, breathing is the way out. And so I'm excited to talk tonight with Ari about his experience with breathing and chronic pain, and leave you with insights and take-home tools so you don't have to struggle and suffer. So must speak enough, Tovah. Ari, from the beginning, like a timeline, like you grew up and something happened and then you sort of started breathing. Can you share sort of step by step and let our listeners know a little bit about you and how you got into this work?
Yeah. First of all, I must say you started breathing from the second you were born. It didn't happen later on, or else you would be dead a long time before that actually happened. So
Thanks for that reminder.
it all began with that one breath, and
Right.
since then it's. But I'd say my background is in sports from the squash side.
Yeah.
Not everyone knows what that is. Usually, I just say it's like tennis, but in a room with a
Yeah.
ball and a racket. So
It's in a court. It's in like a racket court. And you were playing
yeah.
in South Africa or Australia?
No, I was playing in Israel. I grew up in Israel. I was born in
Okay.
South Africa, but raised in Israel. For me, life started in Ra'anana. That's where most of the
Okay.
ex-South Africans arrived.
Yeah. Okay.
So I kind of find my way into a club, and growing up, learning about losing and winning since the age of 7. So my nervous system has definitely experienced that a lot. And I was in the national team, in the juniors, and in the open. I guess at age 19, I had a back surgery, which kind of ended that whole trip, ended that whole journey for me. And I went down a different path of reading books and other stuff, which is 180 degrees, I'd say, from sports, without elaborating too much.
No, but I'm going to interrupt you like a good Israeli. But would you share about, did you like have an acute injury and needed surgery, or a little bit about the back and how
It was
you?
actually from 0 to 100. I was really at the peak of my performance, of my, I would call it my health. Apparently not, but I thought it was. And just one morning I woke up, couldn't feel my legs, couldn't get out of bed, and previous day I was sprinting all over the court. From, as they say, like being wise after many, 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 many years. And I didn't realize maybe up till 8 years ago about that my core was probably weak, more weak than I would imagine. I was very into specific training about sprinting and what I needed to do to be good on court.
Mm-hmm.
But I never really got that. Today it makes perfect sense that your stomach is actually connected to your back, and it's not like these two separate identities.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it started the day I started more focusing on core and strengthening my legs, and breathing definitely improved my spine and back
Mm-hmm.
pain. Like for me, that was a big.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of my background. And at the age of 25, I returned. Like I don't want to talk too much, but I had
No,
like a
I do.
near.
I just because I want to know basically, but what was going on for you emotionally when you're disc herniated and you needed surgery? I mean, there was a lot of emotional and psychological things going on that
Yeah,
I just want to touch that a little bit and just how
I
you
think.
moved through that.
Yeah, I think like any, not like any, but maybe I can only speak for myself. There's different ways to kind of numb down pain and numb down your loss of identity. Back in, if I'm looking, this is almost like 25 years. It's even hard to remember specifically what was going on because I'm not that person anymore. But that is part of, you could say, my history, if you want to call it like that, just for the sake of communicating. But for me, really, that's like a different lifetime ago. So I did like find an escape into things that, calm the nervous system down externally without getting into too specific, and reading books. And eventually it did get better, but not like 100% better. Like you kind of get used to all these spasms happening once in a few months. And I walked around with this story that I have back pain, and today I'm super, super allergic to what words people are saying about themselves and how they even talk to their pain, or how they talk in general. That's like a big thing of what I do is I really, really listen how people talk to themselves, because that
Like
kind of
they're Mhm.
represents their thoughts, that represents their perspective on life. And
So their narrative, their story, you're aware that that can change someone's health.
yeah, just if you look at something like I have back pain, which is, I've kind of given it an identity and I've kind of dissolved myself into that. And I can be truly honest and say there is pain. I'm not denying that there is pain, but I'm not breathing into it. I'm not going to talk about it with my friends again and again and again. And I'm not going to talk about it on the phone again and again. And when I go down the street and I go by the newspaper, which I hope people don't do, but let's say they did do it. And then I say, I got back pain. My name is Sam and I have back pain. And it's kind of like you're breathing into it. And the more you practice something, the better you're going to become at it. So you can become really, really good at having back pain, and you're going to have more of that. Instead of saying like, what am I committed to? Am I committed to health? Am I committed to curiosity and seeing like what can I do? And
So you were doing neuroplasticity before you probably knew what you were doing.
yeah, you can call it many things. But I remember even one time when I was in South Africa, and this was like long ago. Maybe I was 24 at the time, and there was this place where a great white like killed someone a few months ago. It attacked him. It didn't kill him. It just did what it did because it's swimming in its own world, and it's a very sharky place. And when I found myself wanting to go in there and surf, there was no one in the water, and I found myself going back home to where I was. And the next day was the same story. Like I found myself going to the ocean, perfect waves, no one's in the water, and I'm scared, and I'm going back home, and I'm scared in my room, and I'm saying, okay, like why am I scared? Like if I'm in the water, let's say I would have maybe a better reason, but it really got to me that, oh my God, I'm actually experiencing fear from a thought because I'm in the room, I'm safe. And I said, someone's surfing right now, probably, maybe next to it, and there's still sharks in the water, and no one's telling the story, as simple as that may sound, of the sun is in the sky, the waves are perfect, and people are surfing, and no one's telling that story. At least I'm not saying it. And the next day I woke up like very, very determined, and I said, fuck this. If I need to die in the sea, I'll die in the sea. But I'm going to have a good time today. Like, it's going to be okay. And I went into the water. And the funny thing is, like, another 5 people jumped in like 10 minutes right after me. And suddenly there were more people in the water. And the first thing that you think about is that it's not 100% if the shark's coming. Now there's more people. So you start doing the math, like, it's 20% today. It's like 15% today. 10 people, 10%. That's great. Oh, it's a great day. So that was for me like an example of, wow, like, the way you think really affects the way you feel. And
Well, especially around, it wasn't like it was a perceived threat most of the time, but at some point in the water, you could have been potentially under a threat.
yeah, but that's really, I decided that I'm not going to think about it. It took me a while. It took me a long time to get to that conclusion, because it really stems down to two basic emotions. Like, are you going to come from fear, or are you going to come from love? Like, those are the two options, and you can't have them both at the same time. It's impossible. It's impossible to be worried and be happy at the same time. So I made that decision that I'm going to do what I love, and not think about sharks or being dead.
Right.
I said, unless that really happens, then I'll deal with it. But after that point, it's not there.
No, and you also had a choice to be like, okay, I'm going to wait and surf when it's less with sharks. I'm going to decide. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm not going to say that I'm weak. I'm going to just not put myself in the lion's den. I'm going to go another day when the weather changes and the water temperature changes and the sharks are further out. Like, you could have done that too, but you decided to use this experience to learn some valuable lesson, which probably you take with you now in life.
Yeah.
So amazing. I thank you for sharing that and sharing your vulnerability. And it's very, very clear about what was going on for you and how you handled it beautifully. I'm so curious how you got turned on to the Wim Hof, the breathing and the ice, and whether, separately and together. And you also do something called Oxygen Advantage, which I never heard about.
Yeah.
So, and I'd love you to tie it into, again, the power of the breath and healing anxiety, and which usually turns into some kind of pain.
My story began in about when I was 36, which is about 8 years ago, give or take. I was watching Kelly Slater, which is like the #1 surfer in the world. Like, he's a legend. I think he's probably today 52, 3, 4 something, and he's still in a very good condition. And he's, for me, an inspiration and someone, not that I admire so much, but I definitely get from him a lot of motivation and hashra in Hebrew. Like, how do you say that in English? But
happiness. Hashra is happiness.
No, hashra. It means like it kind of pushes all the buttons, like, to get you going and to be inspired. Inspiration. Inspiration is the word. So he was really amazing in Fiji. It was 2016, and he was like in this zone and tens, and he was really amazing, like beating all these 18 and 19-year-olds, which he was double their age. And just by accident, they were asking him afterwards, like, what were you doing? You were so amazing, and were you doing the Wim Hof breathing? And he said, no, I had too much adrenaline anyway. So, and that was it. But it was just like a few words, and I said, okay, if Kelly's doing it, I at least got to go to Google and check out this guy. And back at that time, I was 36, and I was still suffering from back pain. I was in the ER. I was on all fours in the ER, and they gave me injections, which usually help. I felt nothing. I was like, he's really, really like the worst.
After the surgery. This
is way after this. This is 20 years after the surgery. It's like a dance, it's like an ongoing. I had these like horrible spasms just for 1-2 days, and I was in hospital, and they gave me all these painkillers, which makes pretty much everything go away. And then I was home, and this is the only thing that I watch is pretty much surfing. I don't watch the news. I don't watch anything else. So suddenly this came on, and I was like, okay, let's check this breathing out. And up till that stage, I was really into the sports world and more as a coach, still as a player, but less. And I remember the next, maybe 2 days later, I did the breathing myself for the first time. And I was like blown away that after 2, 3 minutes, I was like in this different zone, different time, different space. Something internally in me, like opened up, like kind of this movement. And I remember I could do more push-ups, and back then or whatever, I could do 15, and suddenly I did 30, which was like 50 more. And I did some crazy shit in the pool, which I don't advise anyone to do breathing and go under the water. It's like really bad, really bad. I didn't know about it at the time, but it's a really bad idea, really bad idea. But it's still part of my story and part of my journey that I did the breathing, and suddenly I like swam 50 meters in the pool, which I've been trying to do for 8 years, and just changing my breath pattern, I could do it. Like I didn't practice anything else, not with the push-ups and not with the breath holds. And I can't emphasize enough how stupid that was, but yet it was an amazing experience for me. And I came out like, wow, all I did was change the way I breathe. Like, what else am I not seeing here? What else am I not tapping into? Like, what else can my body do that I'm not aware of? And pretty much from that day, and I started practicing the cold, but that's when really my back pain, pretty much till this present moment, is non-existent. Not in my
Wow.
words. Only when I'm talking to you, I'm actually even mentioning it again. But
Wow.
I don't really breathe it in any shape or form. But that really got me working internally, way more internally. Like when the Wim Hof breathing definitely opened the gate for me, and I just went right through it to start exploring my own body, whether it's people like Joe Dispenza or an Oxygen Advantage and all these names and inspirations that came along. But that was like a real pivotal moment for me, and I became official instructor, and I climbed the highest mountain in Poland shirtless, and all these things that if you would have told me back then, sitting on the couch, like everything's going to be okay, your back pain's going to disappear, you're going to climb a mountain, you're going to do ice bath, you're like, I would have said, there's like no fucking way. There is a way.
So can we, I want to just, I want to
Am I
ask
swearing
you.
too much, or is that?
No, you can talk. This is my safe studio, and we are naked with our clothes on here.
Okay.
My studio, my virtual studio is the real thing. I'm going to call it the real thing. Me and Coca-Cola. So
Yeah.
here's what I want to ask you. Could you share a little bit, because I'm curious. So just what's so special about the breathing? If you can just put it maybe into like, an elevator pitch, like, is it the inhale? Is it the exhale? Is it the holding the breath? Is it the...
You cannot pin it down to an inhale or an exhale. I think it's the whole thing, and I think there is the Wim Hof breathing. I think what's so amazing about it is it kind of interval training for your breathing. Like you're breathing deep and all these big breaths, and afterwards you're exhaling and you're not breathing at all. So you've kind of done an interval training for your breathing system and for your nervous system. And also, I would say what I find special about it is it's really like you're kind of running away from a tiger, and your adrenaline's going and your heart rate is going, and then it stops. Like when you exhale that last breath and kind of go into what is called a retention, when you stop breathing, then you're really going to like a more parasympathetic mode. And there's something over there that just opens up, and everyone feels it.
Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, and everyone feels it, something internally opening up there, because when you do, and this is one thing I must emphasize, anyone who wants to try it out, I don't believe in the word hyperventilation. I actually don't like it. I don't think it does justice to the Wim Hof breathing. There's a difference if I breathe in deep and big, like between doing like that's out of control breathing. That's like panting. It's not about panting. It's about taking a deep inhale to your belly and to your chest, And it's very simple. You don't have to think about your diaphragm and your rib cage, and that's a great topic, and we can also elaborate on that. But it's not the first thing that comes to mind. It's just you want to breathe in deeply and just let it go and breathe in. And you do that for like 30 times. And that's the tiger. That's you creating adrenaline. And in the most famous study of Wim Hof, that what was really shown that he could fight this E. coli bacteria that was injected to him, and he showed that he could activate the sympathetic response. There was lots of adrenaline. There was this interleukin 10, if I'm not mistaken, the cytokine that pretty much knocks down inflammation. So that's like, I would say what I like about the Wim Hof is that it's got the science behind it, and it's got all the things that are like healthy for you, if it's lowering inflammation and dealing with like the stress response. But you can knock all that aside and say it just feels good. And also that's part of what Wim says is like feeling is understanding. And that's really true, because until you don't experience what it feels like, you don't really, have pretty much have any judgment about it. So,
Wow. But we're going back to your thoughts, how your thoughts create another chemical. So those chemicals are all.
I think the best thing for me, like I'm definitely at a different stage now with my practice, because it's been almost 8 years. So I was very like for the first year, I think I never missed a day. It was every single day. I was like, "Where's Daddy? Daddy's breathing." Like, I was like, didn't go to the house. I didn't leave the house before I did like 3 rounds every morning. I think for 1 year straight, this is my passion.
Can it be something that once you learn the skill, you can take it with you and use it anytime? You can tap into that. Is it possible once your body is in you've changed the neural circuits and you've begun to have I'm thinking it through neuroplasticity, that I can go, it's a default, like I can go to that breath and use it when I'm in panic. I can kind of, trust that it'll be there to serve me, even if I'm not doing the specific. Is that how it can be used? Because I'm gonna learn more about it, and I'm gonna get into your ice bath. It's the last thing I do. But right now, I'm right here in my safe studio, thinking about it, because I just want to experience it and help people with it. So
I think that people need to, like, everyone has got their own story. Like, there's no two human beings that are alike. There are no two fingerprints that are alike. So people, I'd say, like, for example, if someone had anxiety, I think it would be an interesting way to explore, but very cautiously. Like, if you don't have anxiety and if you just want to explore Wim Hof breathing, I think there is a space for you to just go ahead and try it and follow all the safety precautions that they have on their official website, and do an official, like, I would go to like a YouTube official channel of the Wim Hof and do all that, at least for safety side. But people with anxiety, like maybe instead of doing like 30 breaths, you could do maybe like 10 or 20, and you can slow it down, because you are going to breathe into your anxiety. So not many, like, you need to be aware of that. Like, you're kind of going to lean into it instead of like calming your breath, which could be amazing just the same. Like, it's not better or worse. It depends really what gets you on. Like, I've seen people that are more anxious and anxiety, and they can breathe into it and then like really suddenly like let it all drop. And once you're in that retention state where you're not breathing and you can hold your breath, then you're learning to deal with adrenaline. You're learning to deal with the spike of a cortisol. You're learning to and relax into it, because you're in a safe environment. There is no tiger. Like, you created all that adrenaline and you created all that stimulant, but you're in your home. You're lying down on your couch. You're maybe you got some nice music in the background. So that could be amazing, but not for everyone. You need to really respect where you are at the moment. And on the other side of it, you could just start breathing through your nose and slowing down your breath and elevating your feet, and maybe have like a binaural beat. All these vibrations that have been proven to like kind of
sound frequency and
Yeah.
sound healing.
Some people call it hemisync. That's like the origin of John Monroe, I think was his name,
Yeah,
or something like that. But
yeah. Well, I guess
you
I
could go
remember.
down those two branches.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people that I meet, they want the power of mindfulness and meditation and breathing to give them change. And partly it's a quiet time with themselves. And when they're quiet with themselves, it's triggering. So it's doing the opposite. So
Yeah,
this is where there's so much power in breathing and meditating and mindfulness and focusing on your breath. So much potential healing power, and it's so medical. It's such a medicine. It's such an incredible chemical healer.
yeah,
And so, but it's a skill, and somebody has to learn for them how to do it. And like you said, lean into it. Or some days it won't be so healing, but that it is an incredible. I don't like the word tool because we're not broken, but it's like such an incredible insight. It's part of our birthright and part of our ability to heal ourselves and ultimately, create all the inner medicine and tap into the pharmacy inside and all that I talk about. But
yeah,
more so, you make a point, because what does breathing do? It brings you to the moment. It stops you from, it's like you're literally having a relationship with yourself through the breathing, and that can bring up enormous other anxiety. And yet, for my work, it's the way out, because it's the way through.
yeah.
So, I want our listeners to just know, with patience and more understanding. And I think what you're saying, it doesn't have to be so intellectual. Let's pick a certain breathing pattern, whether it's Wim Hof or any other thing, or Oxygen Advantage, or some other popular breathing methods, or having a mantra, whatever it is. It's a relationship
Yeah.
with yourself and your breath. And so maybe you can chat about that regarding healing pain and anxiety.
Well, first of all, I think that it's important to put some sort of baseline, like on the ground, and like the Wim Hof breathing is great, but it's pretty much a standalone. So let's just remove that out of the equation, and like why are we breathing, and from where should we breathe? So first of all, my transformation is definitely to move to nasal breathing only. Like some people call me the lawyer of the nose, like a lawyer of the nose, or the representative of the nose. Because I say to someone, it's very basic that you need to walk on your legs. You could argue that, hey, I can walk on all four and maybe not even have back pain. I could walk on my hands. There should be no debate about nasal breathing in and out all day, every day for the rest of your life. Also, when you are sleeping, that should be like a really important. There will be no healing whatsoever if you're not getting your sleep right, and if you're not nasal breathing, from my perspective, at night as well. Sometimes someone is a chronic mouth breather, and that's really okay as well. I'm not saying that that's like a forbidden thing to do, because you got to be honest for where people are at the moment. And if someone is a chronic mouth breather, then his work would be to gradually breathe less with his mouth and then start gradually moving to nose breathing. But that is like the foundation of all health, is nasal breathing and getting your sleep right. Like if you're not sleeping correctly, and then you're just going to be putting on plasters and dealing with symptoms and not really healing, because health and healing is done at night. And I think Matthew Walker has got an amazing TED talk about, and he's like this neuroscientist that his expertise is in sleep, and he wrote a book about sleep. And there are many neuroscientists and that are talking
It's
about
so important. No, it's so important. And so
yeah, but
I wouldn't think the the breathing. I mean, you hear about sleep apnea, and that's all part of this like condition of our generation, where, you know, and I think it's because of the mouth breathing, sleep apnea. Not important anyway.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, it's a fact that there is such a thing, and it's a fact that, you know, if I'm looking back, and I did have like my specialities helping athletes and high performers, and some of them are in the Olympics, and also these Olympics, and part of a silver medal that Sharon Kantor brought to Israel. So I was very happy to help her. But other people that like suddenly, I was helping another athlete, and the friend's mom phoned me and she said, "I know I'm not breathing correctly. I know I want to come to you. Please help me. Please help me." Well, I said, "Okay." And she sat down and she said, "I know I have a problem breathing." And I said, "First of all, there's no way you got a problem breathing because you're looking at me and you made it here. So the breath is to keep you alive, and you're doing that okay." So, and she also had some anxiety issues going on, and once I can tell you the story the way it was, that I started like putting tape on her mouth, soft tape, smooth tape, not like masking tape or rough tape, but you got to build your way there gradually, not just jump into that as well. Like start saying, "Oh, it's too difficult, I don't want to do it." You tried it once and you went from 0 to 100, and like just start at 0.1. Just put it on when you're watching TV, put it on when you're by yourself. Just put
to
it on.
help you practice nose breathing.
Yeah, because you got to find a way to get into your subconscious, because breathing is a subconscious thing. Like all that we are talking about and all that we're doing is it's about conscious breathing. But breathing is, anytime you consciously breathe, you're actually breathing from here, because your breathing is from your brainstem. It's like a crocodile, it's like a lizard. You don't really teach it how to breathe. We know how to do it. It's just that with our habits and our lifestyle, we've completely, and with all the cell phones and all the leaning forward. And all this going on, we've kind of de-evolutionized our face.
Yeah.
But anyway, to get back to the point, she started putting on the tape and she started sleeping with it. Her husband woke up at night, and this is her story, and she says to me, because he doesn't sleep well, but he wakes up at like 3 a.m, and he's looking at her, and he said, "You know, I've never seen you so relaxed in my life. I've never seen you sleep like that. I've never seen you really like dissolve into the bed, and like you had this look on your face." And this is what she's telling me, and I would have like really goosebumps, because she finally started sleeping well. And you know, it makes a whole difference how you start your day. Like if you want to dive into it, like one of the things that I do talk to athletes about and high performers is get your morning right and get your bedtime right. And like if we're talking about these crazy times of war, then if you're really going to watch the news, which I advise you not to do, and it doesn't mean that you don't care, but it doesn't do you any good. But if you're going to do it in the afternoon. Like if you're going to watch the news, or if you're going to read the newspaper, if you're going to go into one of these like news sites on the smartphone, do it in the afternoon. Don't do it in the morning, and don't do it at night. Like at least if you, and even that's if you feel the urge to be connected to all the anxiety and stress that the news is going to give out to you, if you really enjoy that. But if you are going to do it, at least do it in the afternoon. At least that's the time, because have time to recover from that, because it is like it's a huge stimulant. And the thing is, the people who create the news, that they really know how to press all those buttons. It's not just the news. It's like 1,000 people behind those news guys that have written the story really well. And it doesn't
Great
mean
advice.
Yeah.
Great advice, because it covers a lot of how we get triggered and how our unconscious mind holds on to those memories. And then when we relax to go to sleep, what's not relaxed appears.
Yeah, if you've been stimulating yourself with like blue light, and especially even just, again, this is for high performers, but I think it's true for, I think we all born athletes. just by the fact that we got a human body. The
I
thing
love
is,
it.
what are we going to do with it is another question, because you could sit behind a desk and your body will be amazing at sitting behind a desk. It will give you the best thing that you can ever do is sitting down. Like you can sit down for 10 hours. It will be amazing. It's like anything you feed it, it will become good
I'm
at.
so good at sitting down. I'm so
Yeah,
good at doing that. Like it's true. Well, we're
yeah,
talking about habits. We're talking about the brain again. You do something over and over again, the brain will learn it. The brain
yeah,
is malleable. The brain is plastic. The brain will change. And this is getting sick and getting well. And
yeah,
this is it. This is the repetition, repetition, repetition. So that's amazing. So the nasal breathing and the sleeping, it's very key for people who are struggling. And so can we talk a little bit more? So the Wim Hof is one type of breathing, but most important is knowing yourself and understanding your breathing. And can we talk a little bit about the deep breathing into the diaphragm that activates the vagal nerve and how important that is in my field? Because there is something to that. Look, I happen to sometimes look at my phone before bed and I sleep fine. So we're not talking about black and white rules. We're talking about in general, know yourself
yeah,
and know what. So here, a lot of people will get to where they need to be with the diaphragmatic breathing because they are activating their vagus nerve. They are immediately seeing some relaxation, or at least they are practicing, creating a new neural circuit, because a
yeah.
lot of my work is the somatic tracking and the deep breathing. And so can you chat a little bit with your experience about when I go deeper, how that can serve me and how I can do that right now? I don't need to do any training. I can just practice that deep breathing. Can we chat about that?
Yeah, well, the first thing that pops into my mind when you say it is really when I started practicing with Patrick and going down his, I would say, rabbit hole, because he got me into the nose breathing. Like, I, I'm going to do a side note, and if I don't answer your question, please remind me to
It's
answer
okay.
it.
Yeah.
Because when I started learning the oxygen advantage, it's hard to call it a method because it's a way of life. Like breathing is a way of life. It's not like a one thing that you do. Like even when you mention like deep breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, it's not what we do like 97% or 99% of the day. So just to put it in like a nutshell, and I hope I'm not going to go down too much into physiology, but
Don't worry.
the first thing that what blew my mind when I studied the oxygen advantage is like, can you first think about what's going on inside your body about the real way that oxygen is delivered to cells and tissues and to organs? Like, forget about how you're bringing it in and to where you're bringing it in. That's a good question. And yes, there are things to talk about there and elaborate there. But that's just what he would say is that's mechanics. We're talking about mechanics. Diaphragm is a mechanic. Rib cage is mechanics. Can you talk about the chemistry of your body inside? Like, how does that oxygen really get delivered? And this is where something that's called the Bohr effect, which is pretty much in every physiology notebook or any any medicine journal out there. It's a well-known effect that you actually need carbon dioxide to deliver that oxygen to cells and tissues, and you need a normal amount, which is around 37. And every time you will exhale like vigorously or like just do that, I've just lost a lot of carbon dioxide. Like if it was 37, it's 36, like from one breath, like just doing I'm down to 34. I could feel my head even spinning a bit just from talking as well. I'm also expelling. So carbon dioxide plays a huge role in how oxygen is delivered to cells, tissues, organs,
Wow.
and brain function, okay, and heart function. Like this is scientifically so rooted and grounded. Like there is no debate about that. So every time you're pretty much breathing too much and opening your mouth, even if you're inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth, quote unquote, that's a really bad habit. Like you're not getting enough. That's called like not hyperventilation. There's the hyperventilation syndrome, but it's like kind of it's an unseen hyperventilation. Like this is very obvious, like panting, but you could also be going pretty quietly, but still expelling
Yes.
more and more.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
going to cause your blood vessels to actually contract. And
Right.
that's going to cause less blood flow to your brain. That's why nasal breathing and breathing from a chemical point of view and not from a mechanical point of view is pretty much like the heart of the oxygen advantage. So I know without any judgment that there's a lot of like, oh, I need to breathe to my belly or to my diaphragm and my rib cage. And yes, that's true. But every time you're doing that, you kind of have to stop everything and practice. And that's why it's called a breath work, because you're actually working. And that's why it's called a breath practice, because you're actually practicing. But the whole purpose of the actual practice is to actually maintain nasal breathing your whole life.
Wow.
Like, and okay, it's great to do the Wim Hof method. Like you heard me talk about it before, and I'm a great advocate about it. But that's just like one exercise. And that's not really the way you want to breathe the whole day. That will cause you a lot of shit if you do that the whole day. So you kind of know how to balance that in. So that's why
But
I
in
say,
general, lean into the nasal breathing for the most
yeah,
effective, more healthy, more blood and oxygen, most calming, most being in your parasympathetic, better sleep is just like tighten, like close your mouth, not tight, and then you breathe through your nose. Wow.
100%,
Wow.
100%. And there's also like this, like if you had to take one molecule home to bed and for you to be its best friend, it would be nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is something that's only released through your nose. It's not
Wow.
released through the mouth. Like the mouth has actually got zero functions when it comes to delivery of oxygen to cells and tissues.
Wow.
It's you can get
Yeah.
it done, but it's just pretty much like an emergency exit.
Uh-huh.
It's
Wow.
not.
Interesting. Like
Yeah, well,
interesting. So
yeah,
can
to me,
nasal breathing, I'm sorry to interrupt, can nasal breathing also help me activate my vagus nerve?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
one
sure
hundred
because
million percent. It's
not,
like
it's breath. Yeah.
slow breathing and deep breathing. Like if we are going to get into it, like basically, yes, the first place you would want to breathe is into your belly and have a slow. He's calling it like LSD, light, slow, and deep, light, slow, and deep, and one of the things I think one of the mistakes also out there that I've seen is that people think there's like a 4 inhale and a 6 exhale, and you got the numbers going on first. But can your breathing be like effortlessly? Can you breathe effortlessly and light, like inhale lightly and exhale lightly, without counting and without thinking, is it into my belly? Is it into my rib cage? And can you have like, yes, like kind of like the tone of your muscles, can it be a bit more relaxed and loose and just let air flow in and out of you naturally from the nose? And one of the most basic exercises that I think people can start doing is pretty much you breathe like you breathe for 10 seconds, and then you exhale, and then you hold your nose for 5 seconds. And then you inhale again through your nose, and you just keep it going on. Like every 10 seconds, you exhale, you hold your breath for 5 seconds after exhaling. And that really can balance people who are suffering from anxiety and feel that they're in high stress. Like that's a really go-to exercise. Like you breathe in, you inhale, you inhale, then you exhale, and then you stop for 5 seconds.
Wow.
Then you breathe in again through your nose. And down the line, if you wanted to add to that, you could do exactly the same thing, but after you exhale, you swallow, and then you pause, and then you wait for the inhale to come. It's not necessarily a long breath hold, but swallowing also activates the rest and digest. It sends a signal to the brain: I'm safe, I'm calm,
Wow.
I'm okay.
Wow, it's
So
good to know.
yeah, swallowing is huge.
Why does humming also activate the vagus nerve? What
Well,
kind
I
of
just
breathing
gave
am I
you,
doing?
if you took the molecule home with you, that's called nitric oxide. That's exactly what it does. Humming produces more nitric oxide.
No
And
way. Oh my
yeah,
God.
and that's what I really love about that. That's where like ancient wisdom and modern science come together, because scientifically you could look at it and say, ah, that produces nitric oxide. And back in the day, the yogis, they had no fucking clue what nitric oxide is, and they were doing it. They're doing it for 5,000 years, maybe. So um,
And
that's
humming
why.
is also the mantra. Humming is the it's humming.
Yeah,
Well,
that's exactly
the
it.
om.
The om, yeah, like
Wow.
that sends like a vibration through your whole
Wow.
body. By
That's
the way,
amazing.
also in the ice bath, it's a really good place to hum. Like that produces the nitric oxide, and it kind of cuts your brain. It gives your brain something to do,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's a bit of an effort to hum.
Yeah.
But there been, by the way, there's like mind-blowing evidence and research that's been done about people with like autoimmune diseases, and that hummed for like an hour and a half straight, and so many symptoms went
Oh
out the window.
no. Oh no. I
Seriously,
want
like
my listeners to hear that. Please,
you can
please,
go to
please.
Google and you can go check it out. Like you can go prove me wrong, but uh,
No, no, I'm
yeah,
not going to prove you wrong, but this is amazing because you're
yeah, we're living at a
absolutely
time that everyone can go check out every small. But
no, but this is something just so simple and so, and again, if you have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, like this person you're saying did it for an hour, like,
yeah,
yeah, maybe you have to do it. Like I'm now saying to clients, like every hour, I want you to stop for 20 minutes and stretch. Like it's 20 minutes out of your hour. You have another 40 minutes to do whatever you want to do. But like,
yeah,
I need you to be stretching and moving and breathing. And that takes me to this amazing question, which there may not be an answer. I think I saw it once, on the computer. I found this evidence and I kept Googling, and I let it go. And maybe I'm wrong, but I can stand to be wrong because my intention is always good. And I don't believe in right or wrong ultimately, except for like the 10 Commandments, but still, do you have any experience of the fact when we are breathing and focusing on the breath, we can't feel pain, whether it's like walking on coals and you're focused on like, isn't there's something science, and I keep looking for this factual thing. We are breathing and I'm focusing on my breath. And if I'm focused on my breath, the inhale and exhale at whatever rate, color, size, whatever it is, I am not going to experience a sensation in my body anywhere else because I'm focused on my breath.
yeah. I'm not sure you wouldn't feel pain, if we just, for the sake of having a cool argument,
I
if
want to
I got,
argue. I'm focused on my breath
I'm
and I'm
saying if I got
focused on
a,
my breath, not
but if
what
I,
I'm feeling in my body.
yeah, but you're talking about attention, which is great. But if I got a nail in my leg, I'm breathing, I might still feel that pain in my leg with a nail inside of me, which is okay, by the way. I mean, pain is not such a bad word. It's just just what it is. It's nothing more than that unless I make it more than that. But I think if you're not in pain and you're focusing on your breath, you kind of can definitely forget where you are. Like maybe I don't have a body. I know that may sound weird, but till you don't think about time, time doesn't really exist. So I'm thinking you're more pointing out maybe on an awareness scale that you can shift your attention from the pain to something else. It doesn't mean it's not there, but
Right.
you can still maybe feel it, but maybe less. But
Right. Yeah.
if you focus, which is really my playing field, I'd say, is how can you stay focused when there's stress around you? how can you stay focused when there's something on the line? Like every mistake, something can happen, maybe, but it depends what story you're telling yourself, which
How are
I
people
find.
walking on hot coals?
First of all, I don't know for how long they're doing that, but
A
yeah,
minute. It's the what's his name? Tony Robbins stuff, because I
yeah,
bring that up as an example. I'm just going to push my point because maybe I do need to be right here, but if first of all, the pain is in your brain. Chronic pain is in your brain. We're not talking about an acute, kick. We're talking about chronic pain, and it's learned pain, and its body's habitually, protecting you with this sensation. And if you
yeah,
can practice the focus on something else, the sensation will be weak, will feel different. It will be a different. This is what I'm taught, and this is what I'm trying to help people with. Can you talk? So I'm going to be quiet. Let you talk about focus.
yeah. Well, for me, it would start with meeting the person exactly where they are, like being really honest. If
Good.
someone, I think that we have muscles and we have a meat suit around us and we have a nervous system, so we're gonna feel pain. I mean, it's inevitable and it's human and it's really okay. There are degrees of pain now. Okay, how much am I carrying this around with me? So I would really start with really, really saying that wherever you are at the moment, with whatever it is that you're going through, it's really okay. Like right now at the moment, I think one of the main causes of suffering is resisting what is exactly happening to you, and the resistance causes a lot of tension in the body. So that is like
Amazing point.
that for me is like the number one. Like if we're going like breathing is the foundation of nasal breathing is the foundation. So resistance, any form of resistance, mainly in your awareness and your perspective of life, is gonna cause you pain. That's gonna that's gonna enhance whatever's going on. You could be sitting down and breathing in and out, and if you're resisting what's going on, like, why am I doing this? Do I need to breathe? Like even right now at times of war, I would say in Israel, at least for where I'm talking from, and um, you know, maybe doing a breath practice right now could be a bit difficult for someone. Like suddenly to slow down and just go inhale, exhale, like maybe it's not the time to do that. Maybe it's time to go out to the garden and get yourself busy with your hands and your feet and go grounding yourself and walking in the sun and just being a little bit more active, and then maybe going home and kind of getting your sweat going on and then putting some music and then trying maybe a breath practice. But to go from like 0 to 100, and I need to breathe like even nose breathing right now, like at least in times of war, I would say. Like maybe someone in Denmark can start doing it right away. But
Well, then there's what I'm focusing on, of course, is the fear pain cycle. When people have chronic pain, and we're teaching methods of neuroplasticity and pain processing therapy and somatic tracking, because
yeah,
we're talking about the fear, the fear pain cycle, and this is where the breath can help.
yeah. I mean, obviously breathing can help, but for me, the breath is a representative of your resistance to what's going on,
Wow,
and
it's true.
and it's like I can tell you an athlete came to me, and this is true for anything. Like I'm number 5 in the world right now, and I should be in the top 3. And I walked down all the results, and I saw number 5, number 5, number 5, number 6, number 4, and I said, I'm sure you could be in the top 3 tomorrow, and maybe today, but right now, can you meet me at least in reality that it's not good or bad. It's just a number, and it's just a fact. There are facts. You're number 5. Can you accept that as a truth? Because it is the truth. So let's bounce back to pain. Can you really accept the fact that there is pain in some sort of limb in your body? Can you just accept it? And I know this may sound weird, but this is at least the way I approach something. Right now, like reality is showing you that this is what's going on. Can you just accept it? Like I can say something even more, a little bit maybe prerogative, but I don't know if that's the word. Can you accept the fact that right now you shouldn't, like you are in pain, you should be in pain? Like, can you accept that as the truth? Because that's what's going on. Like if someone is in hard pain, like he's feeling it, just stop resisting the pain. Just stop resisting it. Like maybe it shouldn't be better right this second. Because you walking around every fucking day saying, I should be better, I should be better, I should be better, I should be better. I shouldn't be in pain, I shouldn't be in pain, I shouldn't be in pain. This is not okay, this is not okay. Why did I pick up the thing yesterday? Why did this happen last week? Why did that? Like, and you got this resistance, and your nervous system, which is maybe more of your specific field, your nervous system is not it's breathing into that resistance, and basically your nervous system is trying to protect you. That's like the number one thing, that it's waking up in the morning and the pain is there to protect you, basically. So what are you going to do with it from now is a different story. Like, can you be committed to health? Can you be committed to making one thing better? Like just one thing, not 1,000 things. So that's why I'm saying, like, where you start off is, for me, very crucial. Can you start off with stop resisting reality, stop resisting what's in front of you? Can you take ownership of your thoughts? Can you take ownership of you're actually choosing what to feel right now? That may sound maybe a hard thing to swallow, but the more you think about something, the more you feel it. I can close my eyes and imagine war, and boom, all these hormones are going to be flooded. Like I can get into anxiety just by closing my eyes and imagining something. That's how amazing we are. But you could flip it to the other side. Like I can imagine, what does it look like that I can deal with it, that I can do it. That, you know, I went to see the movie Inside Out, the second one. So with no spoilers, but there was an amazing scene that I really said I'm going to cut it out, and sorry, I'm going to show it.
No, I heard about it. I heard about to see. It's about health.
Yeah, but you know the movie Inside Out. It's like
I have it written. It's on my to-do list because it was something about health and healing, right?
Just go watch it. Forget the list. Just go watch it. Okay. But okay. Basically, you get to see these primal emotions in the brain. Like there's fear, there's joy. Joy is like pretty much the main character, and there's what is it? There's disgust. Like she's like that kind of stuff. But they're all these small characters. But one of the main characters they added into the second one was anxiety. Like you should really watch it. But so anxiety takes over, like basically the conscious brain, the prefrontal cortex. There's like this mifkada, I don't know, like the command, like where everyone, like where the keyboard is. And anyway, she throws joy on her friends away from the cortex, and they get thrown away to somewhere, I don't know. Is that a cat?
1 second. Yeah, I have to open up the door.
Cool.
Sorry. I'm not in my own home. Go ahead.
So they get thrown away, and they need to find their way back. And so Joy, she pretty much goes into this. It's called like a. Never mind. It's like a pillow fortress, and there are 18 cubicles, like 80 cubicles, and everyone's sketching and writing down scenes. And you see anxiety, she's like in the screen, there's a screen, like it's pretty much a movie theater within a movie theater. And all the sketches are like showing her, and she's looking and she's saying, oh, that's a good one. She might break her leg. And then you see the actual character in bed, like she cannot fall asleep, and she's breathing like heavily, and she's like not comfortable, and she's like moving all around, and that's a good one, and that's a good one. And everyone's sketching like it's in her imagination. And all of these 80 cubicles are imagination, and Joy finds her way in and she's looking at the screen. She says, "Oh my God, no." And she like knocks one of the guys from the cubicle and she starts sketching herself like, maybe this can happen and it's a good one. And, it's a positive thought. And then like anxiety, she realizes she's there. It's like, I know you're in there. Anyway, but that's just to make the point that, you have this ability to imagine like a positive outcome. And even if you don't want to go down like positivity, because even that can be blown out of proportion sometimes. You just got to be honest where you are. But you can also imagine that you have the ability to change, and that is in every human being's potential, is the ability to change. Like, you're changing all the time, whether you like it or not. So, but anyway, to come back to it, that's the number one thing that I would start with, like specifically with that woman that I told you about before as well, that was sleeping and she felt great. And she said, she kept on repeating it like every week, "I have a problem. I don't breathe well." I said, "You don't have a problem. You want to improve your breathing. Why is that a problem? Can you show me where the problem exists?" Like, problems exist in our mind. There's no place that you can point out and say, "There's a problem." Like, even if you're pointing out at your wife or your husband, he's not the problem. It's your conversation. It's your conversation with yourself about that human being that's causing you suffering. That's causing. So regarding pain, that's where I would start. Like, can you stop resisting? Can you stop blaming? Can you stop judging? Can you really, really take your own shit together and say, what can I do? What can I change if I want change? Like, because if everything's fine, then obviously everything's fine. But if someone, and I've seen so many people with pain, I had someone, choose God, who phoned me and he said, "Listen, I want to come to you, and I have a horrible back pain, and da 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 da." And he was talking so horrible about himself. And I stopped and I said, someone who loves himself doesn't talk like that to himself. Like, are you actually hearing what are you saying? And I repeated back his words to him. And I said, "How does that sound to you?" And he couldn't talk. Like, he literally froze on the phone. And we had an amazing conversation. And he didn't come to me. And he said to me that, because he phoned me the next day, and he said, "You know what?" He said, that conversation with you actually changed my life. And
it's the power.
Because I was on the phone with him for about a half an hour, because I was getting pissed off because the way he was just talking to himself. And I said, "I'm gonna give everything I got to this guy on the phone. Like, you don't need to see me. Forget about the cold and breathing and all that. Like, forget about that. Like, just notice how you're talking to yourself. Like, because you're gonna breathe it. You're gonna get more of that. That's just what your brain and just the human experience, what you practice, you become really, really good at. So if you're going to practice being in pain, you're going to be amazing at being in pain. You want to practice being a victim, you're going to be an amazing victim. And not only that, the fucked up thing is, you're going to find all the right reasons in reality to reinforce all your limiting beliefs. That's the most weirdest thing. Like, that's really hard to swallow sometimes. We're gonna find all the reasons to justify why everything is not okay and why we're not okay. And that's like the number one place, I think, to start, is to absolutely non-exist.
What would you call, like, if we took the don't resist, I wrote it down, don't resist your pain, then would that be another way to move into that would be radical acceptance of your reality.
Yeah, completely. Radical acceptance is an amazing word to say. Yes, to accept what's going on, first of all. And then you can start adding stuff. Then you can start adding like salt water and breathing exercises and grounding and ice bath and sauna and all these amazing things that there are. But I would add that no resistance, and then sleep. Like those are
Yeah.
the first two, and then
Well,
you can start like breaking it down.
when I think of some of the people that I'm working with, and that sometimes I can't help because they're not ready. It's because they're, and any therapist feels like they want to help people. That's part of, like, and when we can't, it's because I think for a lot of people they're not ready to meet themselves, and but more so, what I want to say is that the 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 lack of confidence in their ability to, like I want to heal, they want to heal, but then they don't have the confidence that they're able to do it. Even if we hand them all these facts, say this and this works, you can do this and you'll heal. But
Yeah,
it's this relationship with themselves. It's like they have broken down, but they're not broken, but they have worn themselves down, and they believe that they can't do it.
yeah.
So
Well,
this is their story.
yeah. So the word confidence actually comes from Latin, and the actual meaning of it means with trust. That's what it means. Confidence has nothing to do with I'm the man or I'm the woman or whoever. I'm the alpha dog. That's got zero to do. That's the external version of confidence. Is no one really has self-confidence all the time. That's Bobomeister's. That's a fairy tale, because it will fluctuate depending on what event is rolling in front of your eyes. But the real core of confidence is with trust. And the first thing you want to trust is life. Like that is the number one, from what I do and work, is can you develop a relationship with life, with the rolling forces around you? And once you can trust life, it's that basic question that Einstein uh, talked about, like regarding again this radical acceptance and not resisting. The first question and the only question a human being needs to ask himself in the morning is, did I wake up to a hostile universe, or did I wake up to a friendly universe? And that is the number one decision. And it's people on autopilot and they don't even think about that question, but it's really like, what are you going to wire into? What are you going to feed? What are you going to breed? Like, what are you going to really embrace? Because if you're thinking it's a hostile universe, and you can take dispenser here, and if you're going to think about all the shit and all the troubles that you had yesterday, you're actually living in yesterday. You're not even living in the here and now. And we could have a whole podcast about here and now, because without here and now, you're nowhere. So
Wow, I love
yeah,
it. I really love it. I really
that
love it.
really that threw me off to that
Right,
direction completely.
right. So Donna has been. Hi, Donna. I've seen you before. Sometimes she'll come into the studio, and so maybe we can answer this question. You see it, Ari?
It will take me
Yeah.
a while to see it.
I'm
So
struggling with resistance. It's been so long that I felt this bad. I know there's nothing wrong with me, but I'm suffering.
okay, I mean that deserves a bit of investigation about what's going on there. That's pretty.
I know she has chronic pain, so I think it's learned pain, and she's in the community of the mind body community, and I know that she's hearing all these amazing options and ideas and radical acceptance, but why isn't it working for her? Like, what is she not implementing or applying to her? What's her resistance?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. The first thing I would say is like really, I really believe that there's something magical when you completely stop struggling and resisting, that really meeting yourself wherever it is. Like even if you do have this, I don't believe in chronic pain, but in that word at least, I mean, I know that there is pain. I am aware of pain. I've had myself pain, but also hearing other people's stories doesn't mean that you have to have, write your own story. Like there is something that I don't know if time is a healer, but definitely like finding your own inner peace, first of all. That would be my first suggestion. Like do things that you like and love, and spend time with people who give you great relationships. Because also reinforcing, if she's writing it down here, I don't know how much she's talking about it with friends and family, that I'm not okay, I'm not okay, I'm not okay, I'm
Mhm.
struggling. And that's also, that's going like, and you can be very honest with yourself, and with yourself, like when I had back pain, I said, I'm just stop talking about it. I'm stop for me, not for anyone else. Like, so when you're talking to your friends and to your family, how much are you talking about it? And
Yeah.
can you just be honest with yourself and say, okay, like I have this pain in my shoulder and I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I'm just going to start taking care of it. And at least can I talk about it differently? Can I change, in Hebrew it's abracadabra, like the way I speak is the
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
I create.
I am what I speak.
And I heard someone amazing say the sentence that we're under the illusion that we think that we're describing the world when we talk, but we're actually creating the world when we talk, because words are actually, a precursor to our thoughts. The way you talk is the way you think, and the whole thing is we don't think about it anymore. We think on autopilot and we talk on autopilot.
Yeah.
So I would just start by framing, first of all, what is really going on, and can at least you have that, I'd say, that compassion to yourself, and that confidence is with trust. So
Beautiful.
trust life and trust yourself. Now, those are the two, like when I, at least also with talking with athletes, I mention that word many, 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 many times, because if you are part of life, like you're always part of life. You cannot not be part of life. Like
Yeah.
it's impossible. Like right now, within every human being, there is all the healing. There's all the nourishment. It's just that I won't say sadly, but our windshield is full of dirt and full of, sometimes you could call it pain, you could call it resistance, and there's a lot of cleaning to do there sometimes. And then just break it down to simple,
Beautiful.
simple, 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 simple steps, like really simple steps. Like, can you do what I call a 0.1 today? Can you do a 0.1 tomorrow? Can you do a 0.1 and just keep it on a 0. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to, oh my God, everyone's doing an ice bath. I have to do an ice bath. No, you don't. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. It's ridiculous. I mean, just really, really embrace, like, can you really forgive yourself as well? Like, don't beat yourself up. Like, if you're doing shaming to yourself for not doing stuff, or for feeling bad about not being completely healthy and running up a mountain, that's also not doing any good. That's also a form of resistance. So I would just start with sleep, by the way. That was like the number one
Beautiful.
place.
No, it's so, so powerful, Ari. And you're bringing up a lot of amazing concepts, because even in our world, there's a lot of information about don't talk about it, don't focus on it. And yet, the other flip side to that is, can you be with it and focus on it in a loving, compassionate, trusting way? Because it's
Yeah,
part of you. You created the drama. You created, you're keeping the memory going. You're addicted to it. So can we love the part of us that's addicted to our story? Can we love the part of us that screw up? Can I love the part of me that I hate? Can I, because I created all of it. And so part of that's just, it's a higher spiritual thing, because but it's very powerful. And I think Donna got it, because Donna's very smart, because most people are smart and sensitive that fall into the chronic pain, or they become smarter and more sensitive. And if you can use your smart and your sensitive characteristic as your superpower, you're on your healing journey.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're saying. Like the breath is superpower, pain is your superpower, trauma can be your superpower. You're not, a victim of any of this, and you can turn it into being the victor, at any point. And do not beat yourself up for getting there slowly, because we're all human. We all have this condition called being human. It's a disease. A
That's a
wonderful.
blessing, actually.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing and a curse, like in the Torah. But anyway, I think we could talk for hours and hours, but I'm going to let you rest your throat. And it's just there's a lot of amazing topics, and I would just love to have you come back and talk more, because it's the hour became way more than what I expected, and it's like way more than what I expected, but it met all my expectations. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
That's Tovah. That's Tovah. It's two sides of Tovah, like, because it was like I understood a lot, and there was so much also that I didn't, but you explained it so beautifully. I think the most you lost me was the Inside Out movie thing, but that's okay. But you have an incredible ability to explain this and break it down. And anyone can take all this home and put it in their treasure, and then they can, of course, hear it on the YouTube, which will be up recorded tomorrow. If anybody wants to contact you or chat with you about this, are you doing any international Zoom work? You're just doing local work.
I do Zoom. I function well on Zoom. So if you want to find me, I have got a website. It's Free Zone in one word.
Okay, wonderful. www.freezone.
I think .co.il. That's my
.co.il. And it's okay if you put an ice cube on your neck and don't get into an ice bath. That's what I wanted to say. Like, the ice cube's enough. Thinking about the ice cube and the ice bath's enough. So no pressure from here. So if you were to leave one message with the listeners in healing, self-healing, the doctor within, the medicine, being their own medicine, what would you leave our listeners with?
I would definitely say that accept yourself where you are, and you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and stop. If you are resisting, try and find some space to dissolve that resistance.
Yeah. So much power in those words, and I love what you said about abracadabra. It's wonderful. So thanks again for joining me. I know it's late, but
thank you.
What a great way to end the day and start another, and to bring joy and blessings and hope and trust into not only my studio but the world, and the ability to believe that everything will be okay in our own little body, in our own world, in our own country, in our own state, in our own home, in our own heart. So until we meet again, I'm grateful.
Thank you.
That you joined me. So thank you, and God bless.
Have a good night. Thank you, Tovah.
Okay, one thing, it's going to go off.